think we'll go ahead and get started. So it is a tremendous pleasure today on behalf of the CCTS training component to welcome Dr. Anant Agarwal here. He is a brother of our esteemed Senior Associate Dean in the School of Medicine, Anupam Agarwal, so it's a special pleasure. Dr. Agarwal has a very interesting background and really satisfies two important objectives of our CCTS training unit. One is to, or of the CCTS overall, one is to think about innovations and how we do training, and the other is the very important objective through the CCTS of entrepreneurship. And his career has really amplified and exemplified both of those things. He is currently professor of electrical engineering and computer science at MIT. He's been at MIT for 30 years, did his PhD at Stanford University. He has had all sorts of interesting work at MIT and lots of accolades. He was the director of the MIT Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Laboratory. He's been a serial entrepreneur. He holds a Guinness World Record for the largest microphone array and has been recognized on Forbes' list of the 15 educational innovations, as well as a member of the National Academy of Engineering and the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. He's going to talk to us today about edX, and I'll turn it over to him, and we're really excited to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you, Ken. Really delighted to be here and talk about education. All right, I want you all to think forward to 2030. So put your minds into 2030. It's about 13 years from now, not that far ahead, and barely 13 years. So in 2030, I want you to think about and yell out the answer. How many of today's jobs do you think will be around in 2030? What fraction of today's jobs will still be around in 2030 because of automation and technology and AI and all of that stuff? What fraction of today's jobs do you think will still be around in 2030? 1/3 will be around. Only 10% will be around. 75 will be around. Half, 50%. So so we have frankly we have no idea what the future is going to hold. So it turns out that many of these studies have projected that 50% of today's jobs will be lost by 2030. So half of this planet's jobs will be lost by 2030, which means, so just think about it, in 13 years, and 13 years is not a long time. In 13 years, half of today's jobs will be gone. So which means that whenever two people are talking, they could say, you know what, in 13 years, one of us is going to be out of a job. So what does it mean to us as educators? It means that we need a massive planet-scale effort in upskilling and reskilling. Half of today's jobs. And not only that, our whole education system is predicated on learning at the age of 18 for 4 years or 5 years or 6 years, or I forget how many, 20 years if you're a doctor, but you know, you start at the age of 18 and then you learn for a few years and then you go and work. But if you look at what's happening to the world because of technology and so on, automation, jobs are completely getting turned around. New fields are popping up. And so our education system, which was predicated on people coming in at 18, studying for 4 years and then going on to work, that whole model may have to be rethought. Entire industries are being completely transformed. You all have heard of Uber. And it's completely transforming the transportation industry. Netflix transforming the entertainment industry, and Airbnb is a platform that is completely transforming the hotel industry. But at the same time, our children are also changing. Millennials are a completely new breed of animal. They think differently, they learn differently. They are completely different. That's my daughter. That picture was taken when she turned 13. And for those of you who have who've had teenagers roam through your lives, you've seen how they talk and act, and in fact, they don't talk, how they completely behave differently, where they text and they tweet and the Snapchat and WhatsApp, but they don't talk. They're completely comfortable typing and doing things online, watching short videos, but they're very, very uncomfortable. They're not used to sitting quietly for an hour, listening to an hour-long lecture in a classroom. They just completely don't do that anymore. They're much more comfortable watching videos and so on. They're very comfortable learning in groups. They like engaging with each other, peer-to-peer interaction. They like to learn on the go, whether you're a executive or a student. You pull out your iPhone or iPad or something, and you're learning on mobile devices. And people are getting more and more comfortable learning all the time, as opposed to just going to a classroom and learning. So the whole world has changed around us. Technology has changed everything, and our millennials have also completely changed. But if you look at our education system, that has not changed a whole lot. And this could be a classroom pretty much anywhere in the world, and it would capture the way things are. So edX was, so we formed edX about 5 years ago, in December of 2011, to reimagine education, to see how we could apply technology to education and work in partnership with universities to rethink how education would work. So edX.org is we're a nonprofit. We are founded by Harvard and MIT. Now, if you're a nonprofit, you don't go to VCs to get an investment. So if you don't have VCs, where do you get the investment? So what we did was we started off with a $60 million investment from Harvard and MIT. In addition, we partner with universities. So today we have partners like MIT and Harvard, of course, Oxford, Berkeley. We also partner with entire systems like the University of Maryland system, University of Texas system, universities in Australia, Europe, ETH, and others, in India, IIM Bangalore and IIT Bombay and BITS Pilani. We partner with universities, and the way we raise our investment, rather than going to VCs, is through contributions from our university partners. At the same time, we are on a path to sustainability, and we hope that by 2019, 2020, we will be sustainable as an enterprise. We also gather revenues, and we share revenues with our partners as well. So we started with a three-part mission. One is to expand access to education for students all over the world. And I'll show you some metrics that relate to access. A second part of our goal, I said we partner with universities, and we want to improve on-campus education as well. How should we be teaching online? What are new ways of teaching and engaging students? I was talking to the training group earlier today, and they talked about how there are many research centers around the system where researchers have to be trained. And it doesn't make any sense to have them drive an hour to come for training and then send them back for an hour. Imagine if you could do it completely online and train the people where they are. Imagine distributed teams throughout the world where people could be learning and working at the same time. And we want to advance research and learning at the same time. Big data and data analytics are transforming every field, including medicine. So why shouldn't it transform education as well? So we are gathering the big data of learning. So every single mouse click, every single answer, every single interaction is recorded, and we use that to study how people learn. So the way we work is that our university partners and other institutional partners create the content on edX. So maybe a better way to use an analogy of Uber. So what does Uber do? Uber is a platform. They built a platform. They really have nothing else. They have no cars. They have nothing. They built a software platform. They connect people who have space in their cars to people who want to ride. So you can think of edX as a platform where we connect people who can teach or who want to teach to people who want to learn. The subtle difference here is that we partner with universities. Unlike Uber, we partner with universities, and our content comes from our university and other institutional partners. So today, in the space of 5 years, we've grown to 11 million learners from every single country in the world. So we have about 30% from the US, about over 1 million learners from India, 10%. And then number 3 is UK and China are around 4% of our learners. We have about 1,400 courses on our platform. People offer courses on our platform. And we have about 120 institutional partners from all over the world. So this aspect of access is not only enabling learners access and choice all over the world, but it's also affording scholars with new audiences. So as a teacher, previously you would teach a small number of students in your classroom, but here you have a worldwide audience. I'll give you my own example. So my colleagues and I taught the first course on edX. It was in circuits and electronics, and this was in spring of 2012. When we launched the course, in my MIT class, I teach about 100 students a semester, so maybe 200 students a year. But online, when we launched the course, we had 155,000 students from 162 countries taking the course. This is just one course. So as a teacher, you can imagine the kind of access that you get. It's, this is the home of Tinsley Harrison. And do people know how many people have read his textbook? I don't know. I guess how many doctors are there in the world? Must be around that number. And so just imagine, previously you had to write a world famous textbook. So now you can teach an entire course online. So think of this as the next generation textbook, if you will. So you teach online, and hundreds of thousands of students around the world can take these courses. So in this example, we had about 155,000 students take the course. And at the end of the day, 7,200 students passed an MIT hard course. So in these courses are free. Anybody can come in and learn. There's no admissions, no nothing. You just come in. So in fact, I encourage all of you to go to edX.org, edX.org, and check it out, and go and take a course. If you want to learn something or want to find out about something, just go type in the topic on the search bar and just go and learn. It's on a mobile device. You can download a mobile app for Android or your iPhones and start learning there as well. So people come in. So our courses involve interactive videos and exercises and discussion forums. It's all completely online. And in this course, 7,200 passed the course. So 155,000 students took the course and did something in the course. That's a big number. So 155,000 is bigger than the total number of alumni of MIT in its 150-year history. Now, 7,200 who passed the course and completed the course is also a big number. So I would have to teach for, 35, 40 years to be able to teach that many students at MIT. So these are pretty staggering and big numbers. So here are some of our students, and every student here has an amazing, absolutely amazing, amazing story. So this guy here, his name is Akshay Kulkarni, and it's an interesting story. I was traveling through Bangalore airport. I just checked in, and as I was walking away and heading up the ramp, I saw this young person approach me, and he had about 15 or 25, 20-somethings, a big horde. So they sort of, approached me almost like a human amoeba. About 25 of them sort of sidled up to me, and this guy asked me, "Are you Anant Agarwal?" I said, "Yes, but I've done nothing wrong. You're in a different country, and you're always worried about your passport and stuff like that." So he said, "Oh no." He said, "You saved my life." I said, "What do you mean?" So he said he'd graduated from a third-tier university in India, and I'm not sure you've heard the statistics, but reports are that 85% of Indian graduates who graduate with an undergraduate degree are unemployable. The skills gap. There's a skills gap everywhere. What they learn is not what employers want in jobs. And so he was futzing around for 2 years without a job. And then he discovered edX, and he took a couple of courses. One is he took Intro to Computer Science from Harvard, and he took Software as a Service, which is cloud software development, from Berkeley. Then he applied to Microsoft in Hyderabad, India, and they were shocked. They said, how did a little kid like you from this unknown school, here you have the certificate from Berkeley in cloud software, and they were completely stunned. How did you do that? And they asked him a couple of questions, and he knew his stuff. And they hired him on the spot. And then he tells us that after that, all the questions had to do with HR. They stopped the whole technical interview, and they just hired him on the on the spot. So the incredible stories of virtually all the learners. But what is interesting today is that we did a survey of our learners who earned certificates and in career-oriented courses. And 43% of our learners are telling us that they've already achieved a career advancement from these courses, whether it's a pay raise or a new job or a promotion. 1 in 2 are posting the certificates on LinkedIn. So once you finish a course, with one click, your certificate can go on to LinkedIn. And 45% are including the certificates on their resumes. In addition to the kind of innovations in access, you can think of this technology creating 3 kinds of innovations. One is innovations in access, and we talked about how 11 million people are learning. They've taken 40 million courses on edX in the space of 5 years. That's access. The second part of innovation is in credentialing. And we're creating new kinds of credentials on edX. And one credential we've created is the MicroMasters. So today you have the credentials like bachelor's degrees and master's degrees. You spend 1 to 2 years at a university to get a master's degree. You spend 4 years to get a bachelor's degree. But where has it been written that a master's should be 2 years long or 1 year long? Why 2 years? And a lot of students may have a job, may have a family, and in this new world of ours where we need a planet-scale reskilling, what are the odds that someone is going to be able to go back to university to get a new master's degree? So, for example, data science is really hot. There's 300,000 jobs in data science alone. So a lot of people who did, mathematics or philosophy or statistics or other fields, the real opportunity in data science. But there's just no way that they're going to go back to a university and do a 2-year data science degree. However, they'll be perfectly comfortable doing a smaller program. But today we don't have such a thing. We're still mired in the past where we still have the same old master's degrees and bachelor's degrees that are very rigid, and they were really for a bygone era, and we still are following that same kind of model. You could this is a medical school, so you can almost think of this as being an outpatient degree, where previously you'd send somebody in and you'd keep them in the hospital for a week. But today, you're in and out, outpatient, boom, 2 hours and you're out. Think of this as an outpatient degree. So MicroMasters is a micro-credential. Think of it like a micro-degree. So we're innovating in the new credentials. It is about 25% of a master's degree, 25 to 50% of a full master's degree. It is offered by some of the university partners on edX. Each MicroMasters has an endorsement from an employer. These are career-focused programs. So you can have a MicroMasters in data science or artificial intelligence. And each is endorsed by an employer. So a learner can go in, and when employers say, look, if you complete this, you're likely to get a job at the end of it. And when employers say that, it gives a lot of credence to the credential. It's flexible. It's completely online. And it's open admissions. So what that means is if you're 30 or, to apply for a master's program, I remember talking to a friend of mine that was doing that. And he had no idea where was he going to go and get recommendation letters. His teachers didn't know him anymore. Where's he going to go and get GREs or SATs or JEE, joint entrance exam? Where's he going to get those, go and study for those tests again? Where does he find his transcript? So for us, it's all open admissions. This means that anybody can come in and learn. Why have admissions? So have you ever given thought to that? So at universities, why do we have admissions? Why do we, when people apply, why do we turn away a significant fraction that apply? Well, the reason is we don't have space. So the University of UAB, I hear you take in 19,000 undergraduates a year. But I'm sure more than 19,000 apply. Other universities take in, I know MIT takes in 1,200 a year, but far more than 1,200 apply. Why don't they take in everybody? They're not mean people. And the reason is there's no space on campus. And so they somehow have to filter people based on various metrics and this process of filtering. But online, remember, we could educate 155,000 students in the class with a scalable platform. So there's no limit to how many people you can train. The additional cost of a single learner is virtually zero. It's virtually zero marginal cost. If the cost of teaching an additional student is virtually zero, you can take in as many students as you want. So the beauty of the admissions process here is that it's open admissions. Anybody can try. You go in and with one click you can start learning. You won't get a credential. To get a credential, you have to pass. But anybody can try. And online, you can do that. It's affordable. On edX, all our courses are free to learn. These are MOOCs, massive open online courses. Anybody can come in and learn. To get a MicroMaster's credential, you have to pay. It's on the order of $1,000. So a business model is that you can learn for free. You want a credential that proved that you learned, you want a signal, that's about $1,000. So it's like, to go back to my Uber analogy, if you're on Uber, imagine Uber gave you a ride anywhere for free. Okay, it will take you from here to there, anywhere, wherever you want for free. But if you want proof that you went someplace, hey, that'll be $1. So that's what we do. So here you can learn for free. We'll give you rides wherever you want for free. But if you want proof that you took the ride, it's about $1,000. So that's pennies on the dollar compared to the price of a master's degree. And the real beauty of this, so people wonder, how do we know that this is a good thing? How do we know that this is quality? So each MicroMasters is backed by credit. What this means is that you complete a MicroMasters on edX. Let's say we have a supply chain MicroMasters on edX from MIT. And after you complete the MicroMasters, you apply to MIT and you get in to the Campus Masters degree program. The MicroMasters, in this case, will convert to 50% of the credit at MIT. So the campus program is $60,000 1 year. If you have the MicroMasters, it becomes 6 months, half the price. And MIT will look at your performance in the MicroMasters while they in admitting you. So this is a revolutionary new micro-credential. So a lot of people may not want to do a master's degree, they just want the micro-credential. And we believe that there's a future in this 2030 model of the world where new jobs will be popping up all along the way. So there are 300,000 open recs in data science alone in the country today. 300,000, and they can't fill it fast enough. So if you're already working, you can go get a MicroMasters from edX in data science from UCSD for about $1,000. And then you could get a MicroMasters in data science. Following that, let's say 5 years from now, something else becomes very interesting. You get a MicroMasters in that. And so this creates a new world of learning where learning can become continuous and you can learn in modular chunks as you go along. Yes, question?
I hate to ask a silly question, but the credentialing, how do you ensure that the person taking the test to get the credential is the same one that took the course?
The question is, how do you ensure that the person taking the test is the same one that that is signed up for the course? How do you know who they are? So hold that thought. I haven't told you how we do it yet. So far, I'm giving you the sales pitch. This is a fantastic car, runs at 100 miles per hour. And you know what? The gasoline is free. And so it sounds too good to be true. So I'll show you how we do it in a second. So this is a new credential. And frankly, it wasn't easy to get the pathway to credit. We had to work with the accreditation agencies. I'm not sure who your accreditation agency is, but for New England, it's called NEASC, New England Accreditation, blah, blah, blah. Work with the Department of Education, the previous Department of Education. And so to create these new credentials where, they're getting half the credit coming onto campus. And it's very innovative. And so what we haven't done yet is also offer financial aid for this. So edX offers financial aid. So if you can't afford it, edX will give you financial aid, and you can even get the credential for free. But we haven't yet worked with the US government to have Pell grants and other grants applied towards financial aid. Although we'll try to do that going ahead. So this is learning for the 21st century. And credentials like this might presage a new world of learning, where rather than going to college at the age of 18 and getting a big fat bachelor's degree in 4 years, and learning stuff that might be outdated 3 years hence, you can imagine a new world. And I'll talk about it later, an unbundled world, where maybe you go to college for 2 years or 1 year, and then go to work, and then keep learning in modular chunks for the rest of your life, picking up new credentials as you go along. I'll talk about that in detail as well. So we have MicroMasters and these micro-credentials today from in a large number of topics. So what are some of the hottest topics out there today? Where do you think some of the hottest jobs are today? Yell out the answer. Informatics. What else? So we'll be launching a MicroMasters in Bioinformatics from UCSD shortly. We have MicroMasters in Data Analytics from Georgia Tech, a MicroMasters in Business Analytics from Columbia, a MicroMasters in Big Data from the University of Adelaide. So various aspects of informatics. What else? What are the other hot jobs? Programming. So we have a MicroMasters in software development from University of British Columbia, a MicroMasters in algorithms, software algorithms from the UCSD, and Penn is launching one in computer science. So a large number of MicroMasters focused on different aspects of where the cutting edge technologies are. Other hot areas, cybersecurity. So we launched a MicroMasters in cybersecurity from Rochester Institute of Technology. Management. So we have many MicroMasters in business management, in marketing. We'll be launching one in accounting from BU. A company, Burning Glass, has indicated that software product management is the hottest job in the US. We have a MicroMasters in software product management from BU. So project management, product management, design thinking, sustainability, social work, education technology. We have 40 MicroMasters. So we announced the first batch about 6 months ago. We have 24 universities offering 40 MicroMasters today. And our hope is to get to a few hundred over the next year or two. So this will become a real a popular credential. So here are some examples of endorsements from corporations. So this is Walmart. So Walmart is looking to hire the most talented associates, and the MicroMasters is a powerful way to learn the important skills to be successful. We have a MicroMasters in international hospitality management from Hong Kong Poly. So here the Dragon chain of hotels in China has a testimonial. And many of them actually working with the university. In many cases, the employers are working with the university to vet the content and to curate the content to make sure that what they end up producing will truly end up giving students a pathway to a job. For us, this is also a big deal. So universities have been loath to work with corporations. It's always been, look, we know best. Okay, but here, universities are comfortable working with corporates and getting feedback. I mean, corporates don't call the shots, they provide feedback to say, hey, look, if you put a project here in this topic, the students would be much more likely to get a job. GE has a testimonial for AI MicroMasters from Columbia. So AI and machine learning is one of the hottest topics today. Whether you're talking about autonomous vehicles or you all have heard of self-driving cars, it's all about AI. You heard about Watson, it's all about AI. And so AI is just incredibly hot. So the first course in this MicroMasters is called Introduction to AI from Columbia. They launched it 3 months ago. 110,000 students are taking this course. 110,000 students. And you can learn AI for free. Robotics is hot. UPenn has launched a robotics MicroMasters. We are somewhat weak in medicine. We'd love to get more in medicine. So, for example, I can imagine programs. So this is all at the master's level. We'll be launching a bachelor's level program soon, micro bachelors as well. And one can imagine a pre-med program. One can also imagine we're talking to a couple of universities that will be launching a MicroMasters in public health. You can imagine a bundle involving epidemiology, biostatistics, and a few other courses in public health. So here's an example, a quote from a student. So Javier is an engineer at Google, and this is what he has to say. He's taking these courses, and it's immediately helping him in his job at Google. All right, so now let's talk about the nuts and bolts of it. How do we, what are the innovations to actually make it work? How do you know that a person taking the exam is a person that says he or she is taking the exam? How do you create a quality learning experience? And really, to us, we found that credit was the ultimate barrier. When we began offering credit for our courses, that's when we really had to make sure that the integrity and quality was up to snuff. Because credit is the ultimate signal. And I like to say that credit is like the sonic barrier of education. To get universities to offer credit for their courses really requires you to achieve a level of quality and integrity on the platform. So let me talk about how do we use technology to create a quantum improvement in the quality and integrity of education. So we are using big data and neuroscience techniques to create a learning experience that is provably high quality, and over time, even higher quality than the kind of education you see face-to-face at universities. So first of all, as I mentioned earlier, the pedagogy behind the edX platform is called active learning. So active learning is where you show the learner short videos, 5-10-minute videos, interleaved with questions, with little mini questions. So that approach is called interpolated testing. So you show some content, and then you test the student on that content. So this way enables the student to get a check as to whether they're doing the right thing or not. So this was a study done by Gabriele and others in the Brain and Cognitive Sciences department at MIT in 2016. So what they did was they worked with a group of students, and they showed the students just video. And they gave them a pre-assessment and a post-assessment, and looked at the improvement in performance just by showing videos. Then what they did was they showed the students videos and interspersed the videos with discussion. And then they interspersed the video with interpolated testing. And you can see that the testing approach did significantly better than the approach with, this was about 30% better than the approach with just the interpolated, with just the videos alone. So these studies are showing that interpolated testing and the approach that we use is actually better than just lecturing to a student for an hour. And they went a step further. So these are EEG scans of the brain. So they actually did, when a student was watching video, this is a video of the brain, sorry, EEG, a brain scan. And this is when the students are discussing. And this is when there's interpolated testing going on. How many of you know how to read EEGs here? Oh, well. I thought, what if you jump up and say, you know, could explain for me? So here's how it works. So the warm colors, yellows and the reds, the warmer colors, think of it more as sort of a sleep state. And the lighter cool colors, the blues, are the sign of an active, engaged mind. And you can see that the EEGs, for when you're just watching videos, watching television, for example, there's just not much going on there. But you see a lot more blues happening when you have the interpolated testing. The brain is much more engaged. So they did this study not only to show that interpolated testing was a good thing in terms of results, but there's also neuroscience behind why such a thing is a good idea. So the way we built the platform and the software enables learning to happen in a way that is much better than when you sit in a classroom and you're lectured at for a whole hour. We've done a lot in the online platform to improve the quality as well. So today's MOOCs, online courses, are not just about videos and multiple choice. We've gone well beyond that. So first of all, they're very, very rich problem types. You can do equations. We have a lot of courses in anatomy and so on, where the professor shows the student an image, and you have to go and, let's say on this image, show me where the hairline fracture is. And the student has to go and circle a region, and we can grade that automatically. You can do things like a drag and drop. So many, many different problem types that go well beyond the multiple choice. Enabling instructors to create very high quality and rigorous assessments. How do you grade essays? So we have, when you grade essays, we have several approaches to doing that. One approach is we use peer assessment, where students can grade each other's work. A second approach is we also have an experimental AI grader, where the computer grades the essays. Where what you do is the first 100 essays are graded by the instructor against a rubric, and then that trains a machine learning model, and then you do it by computer following that. The other approach we've done is that universities still don't trust these technologies, so we've integrated hand grading into the same platform, so that the students who are learning for free get the peer grading, but those who are paying for the credit path, they get hand grading integrated into this flow. So by integrating hand grading and manual components, wherever people are worried, we can actually do some of these things manually as well. We get very rich analytics, per student analytics, so you can watch how students are doing and look at things like answer distributions and extremely rich analytics. So as an instructor, you are continually getting feedback on your course, and you can keep improving your course as well. We can also do teams. So in the online platform, students can form groups of between 2 and 10 and do team projects online. So with online platforms and technologies, you can do quite a bit more than what people have been used to in the past. So let me go to your question, integrity. How do you ensure that a student is the one who said they did the work? So the straight answer to your question is virtual proctoring. So when you give an exam, we can virtually proctor the student on our platform. And the way you do that is the student clicks and starts an exam. They're sitting in their house at their laptop, and the webcam records a video of the student taking the exam, and also records all the sounds, and also there's a screen scrape to record what else the student has on their screen. And so that video record of the student now becomes a permanent record along with the exam of that student. And that video is sent up into the cloud, it's compressed, and then watched at high speed by people sitting offline watching the video. So it's like, literally what is happening is we work with a company called Software Secure. It's literally outsourcing proctoring. So today you have a big classroom and you have a proctor walking around. What we've done is think of it as the model equivalent of outsourcing proctoring. So a video camera records every student taking the exam. Videos are compressed and shipped wherever. There might be 100 or 1,000 people sitting there watching 10 videos at the same time, and really scaling up the proctoring, the proctoring approach. So that's how you prevent cheating. And we built many other approaches to prevent cheating. We can do timed exams, exams that start and stop at a given time. We can control exam visibility. Now, once exam is done, we can pop that exam away so it's not sitting there being copied by the other students. We can give randomized problems. Every student can get a different exam. We can do randomized numerics. For numerical problems, every student can get different numbers so that everybody gets to type in different answers. So does that answer your question about making sure that the student is not cheating? So there's many, many forms of cheating. One is while I'm taking the exam, I might ask somebody else. A second form of cheating is that I publicly disclose the exam so that future students can get it. So for that, timed exams, randomized problem banks, exam visibility, these techniques become important. So the last 5 or 10 minutes, let me dream a little bit about what might the future of higher ed look like. With something like this, where could the future go? So do people recognize this? So we are dating ourselves if you recognize this. So this is this used to be the beige AT&T boxy telephone that I think was on all our desks or our homes in the early 80s. And then it went away. So it went away in about 1986, 87, when the whole telecommunications industry got unbundled. So until then, AT&T gave you everything. They gave you the phone, they gave you billing, 411, the long distance, everything was AT&T. And not much progress happened for, I forget, I mean, I don't know how long this phone has been around. I know I remember using it when I first came to the US in 82. But not much progress. Same boxy telephone. But then the telecommunications industry became unbundled. And in the past 20 or 30 years, the whole industry has completely transformed itself, where I buy a phone from Samsung, I buy long distance calling from a Sprint, I buy wireless access from Verizon, I get my calendar app from Google. So the whole thing has become unbundled, and different people supply different components that together create my telecommunications experience, where each person can be perfecting their art. The cost has gone down, quality has shot up, access has gone up, all kinds of good things have happened. I think the same kind of unbundling will happen in education. And we can dream about the future of education in 3 dimensions: unbundling the credential, the clock, and the content, resulting in significant improvements in efficiencies for universities and access to students. So let's look at unbundling the credential. So MicroMasters is an example of an unbundled credential. A master's degree is a bundled credential. A MicroMasters is a piece of a master's degree. It's an unbundled credential. You just want a piece of it, you go get the MicroMasters. And then you want the whole thing, you can go and get a full master's degree. So it's a modular component that gives you a piece of a piece of the bundle. It's like in a hospital. Let's say you have surgery in one hospital, and then you have patient care. You go in and then they take care of you for a week in the same hospital. So that's a bundled service. At Dana-Farber in Massachusetts, for example, they do the cancer treatment at Dana-Farber Hospital, but you have to be checked in. They send you to the Brighams. So that's an example of an unbundling of services, where cancer treatment is done at one place, but checking into a hospital is done in another place. And so each place can focus on what they're good at. Dana-Farber can focus on cancer, and they don't have to focus on managing a hospital with 1,000 beds. They can get economies of scale and efficiency by partnering with the Brigham. So similarly here, by partnering with edX, we create the access and the platform, and the credential comes from MIT or Columbia or UAB or whoever else. So that's unbundling the credential. There are all kinds of things that can happen once you unbundle the credential. You can get stacked degree programs. So we launched with Georgia Tech a new degree program in data analytics. You can come to edX and complete a MicroMasters in analytics. 3 courses, $1,500. And then if you like it and you want the whole master's, you can continue learning on edX and complete all of 10 courses on edX for a full master's degree in analytics for under $10,000. So just imagine the analytics program at Georgia Tech is a world's top 10 ranked program. You can now get it for under $10,000 on edX. So unbundling enables new kinds of credentials like this. You just want to taste, and you're happy with it, go on, take the bundle, take the piece and you go away. But you want the full experience, not for much more, you can get the full experience. So this is one example of unbundled stacked credentials. Another example of what can happen with unbundling. So why should the university doing the teaching also be the university doing the credentialing? So let's say someone comes to gets a MicroMasters from UAB on edX in, let's say, public health. What if they want to get a master's not from UAB, but from somewhere else? You can do things like that. So as an example, University of California in San Diego has launched a data science MicroMasters on edX. We partnered with Curtin University in Australia. They have a Master of Analytics degree. So they have recognized the MicroMasters on edX, and they've said that any student that has a MicroMasters from edX can now join their program, and they will accelerate the program for the student. So isn't this amazing? So we've now begun to create credit exchanges. This was unheard of before. Have you ever, there was transfer of credit, but now we're officially creating credit exchanges where people say, okay, if I'm UAB, I have a public health master's degree, I'll say, okay, I'm going to be accepting MicroMasters from a number of other places, giving students a lot more choice. And some universities may say, look, I want to focus on the front part, others may focus on the back part. So it enables you to share and create efficiencies using the unbundling of the credential. So next example is unbundling of the clock. So today with a bachelor's degree program, you go for 4 years to a university and you complete a full degree at a university. So we launched Global Freshman Academy with Arizona State on edX. So we've launched the full freshman year's worth of courses on edX, available for free. Once you pass, you can pay half in-state tuition and get the credit on an ASU transcript. So entire freshman year's worth of credit you can get on an ASU transcript, and you can pay for credit if you pass. And then you can transfer them to any other university where ASU credit is accepted. So this is an example of unbundling the clock. You can spend 1 year learning online on edX for your entire freshman year while you're in high school, or let's say you don't feel like going to college, you start a job. You can do an entire freshman year of the high school completely online. And then you can, if you want to do a bachelor's degree later, you can go and join some university. So we've unbundled the clock, broken up into two pieces, a freshman year and later years. So you can imagine all kinds of unbundling. Do a freshman year online, spend 2 years at a university, and then go to work, and then be doing a MicroMasters for the rest of your life. So it creates new ways of bundling together components. We can unbundle content. So in this example, remember the circuits course that I talked about? So San Jose State University said, hey, why don't we offer the MIT course on circuits at San Jose State? So their students took the course on edX at the local campus. This is a picture from the actual class. And the professor there did not give lectures. He simply had students work in small groups. And he served more as a guide to the students. But the students did all the learning exercises, homeworks, and all of that stuff online through edX. This is an example of unbundling content. The classroom and the students and the degree came from San Jose State, but the content came through edX. Results were staggeringly good. In the fall 2012 class, compared to the spring class, spring was traditional, fall was this new approach. Their course failure rates fell from 41% to 9% by going to this model. And then they repeated this 3 semesters in a row, and the failure rates fell from 40% to 9%. So not only can this approach give you more flexibility, but can improve the quality as well. So in this example, an MIT course was taken at San Jose State. Now, clearly that begged the question, why couldn't that MIT course also be taken by MIT students? If you believed in your own BS, then you should be able to eat your own dog food and do your own courses. And so otherwise, people are going to say, wait a second, why aren't you taking your own courses? So we did. So this is, so last fall, this took some time to get through various Senate committees and so on. So at MIT last fall, about half the students from the campus class were given the choice to do the completely online course on edX, 100% online. And MIT would give them full campus credit for it. And so this was an announcement in the campus newspaper, The Tech. So this semester, the students can take the content completely online. We're offering it again this semester. Amazing results. The same grade distribution. Students loved it. The course rating went up, by doing this. And students liked it because they now had the flexibility. They didn't have to go to class anymore, completely online. And when we asked the students why they liked this, they said, look, I can roll out of bed any time of the day now. I said, I like studying at 1 o'clock at night, so I'm watching videos at 1 o'clock. If I'm really stressed during the week, I can push off all the work and do it all and binge in 1 day or 2 days. And in case you worry that binge learning is not good, research studies are showing that binge learning is actually good. So they say, I just dedicate all of Saturday to completing a whole week's worth of work. And students love the flexibility. And the way we sold this to MIT, the pitch was, this will reduce student stress. So student stress is a big issue at all colleges. I'm sure it's an issue here. It's an issue at MIT. And so we measured stress. And a spectacular result was student stress was spectacularly low in this class compared to the other campus classes. And this is not by 1 point or 2 points. The whole curve shifted in terms of stress. So you can see how online learning can improve quality and reduce student stress at the same time, because now they don't have to worry about class conflicts. They don't have to worry so much about deadlines, but they can manage the time better. Worse, you miss a lecture, you're kind of screwed. How do you miss a class? You're not well. What do? You slept late. Here, it's all online. You can rewind. The students are saying they're rewinding videos 6 times before a homework. So my question to you all is that, is the future of education continuous, where we become lifelong learners as opposed to learning at the age of 18? And will education become unbundled, where we will all be teaching in modular chunks and stacking up credentials throughout life? Now, in the medical field, you could kind of already do that. Your CMEs, for example, you kind of already do that. You are continuously learning. So one could argue that the rest of the world, maybe catch up with you all. So thank you. Happy to take any questions. Yes.
Why would the MIT student pay the MIT tuition?
The question is, why would the MIT student pay the MIT tuition? What is interesting is that you ask those students after this online course, were they better off doing the campus course or doing this online course? They were given the choice. And they said they were much better off doing the online course.
Right,
so then the question is, why should they pay MIT campus tuition? There's 2 answers to that. One is, as university, edX is a university consortium. We work with universities. As universities, we better be thinking really hard about what the future holds for us. As these new technologies come up, what is our business model? When students can take a part of the degree program online, what is my value add as a campus? I better begin to think about what value add do I give. So let's take movie theaters, right? When people began to watch Netflix, movie theaters began to think, what's my value add? Why should people go to movie theaters? So how many of you have been to AMC recently and watched a movie in a theater? I've done that. What's different? The Framingham AMC in the Boston area is different today than it was 10 years ago. What's different? So maybe it hasn't come here yet, but so previously, you all were packed into this auditorium, like 1,000 people, and you watched a movie. But now that you can watch Netflix at home, why go to a movie? So what they've done is that each seat has now become a couch. You can relax, and waiters and waitresses go by and take your order, and you can eat. So they've begun to give you value-added services to make you come into a movie theater. So what is the moral equivalent at a university? I don't know. So these changes are happening. So as university, we need to think about what is our value add as a campus. I think there's a lot of value adds as a campus. The student collaboration, students working together. The other thing is, on campus, many students formed study groups and worked together. They studied online, but they did form groups and worked online. So they pay MIT tuition because they can find peers who they can work with and study together. They also, at the end of the day, get the MIT credential. So maybe what people value. Pardon?
But you told us you can get that anyway when you get your credential.
Not yet. You get the MicroMasters, but not the MIT degree yet. But eventually you will, the Georgia Tech, it's a degree, you get the degree. So then why would they come to campus? You can get the degree for under $10,000 on edX from Georgia Tech. The campus degree costs $40,000. So why would students go to campus? Right, why? So some might go because they want the campus experience, but others might say, look, why go to campus? I mean, we need to think hard about these things. And we need to get ahead. We need to get ahead of the curve here. Yes.
The attrition rate is so much higher. I mean, the example that you showed, the attrition rate is so much higher when they don't have access to faculty. So even if they're taking they can take all the content online, just as the example that you showed. So the campus then becomes a place for high
support.
level of success.
So it could be that on campus you provide extra support. But remember, even online, the lower percentage is because I'm admitting anybody. If you restrict your admission to 5% of the people that apply, heck, anybody could give you a good success rate. In other words, if I let only the top people come in, of course they're going to pass. But if I open the funnel and say anybody can come in, of course you're going to get a lower success rate, but other people have learned something at least. But to your point, you can give higher support on campus and help the students on campus, so they could get extra support. Yes.
So there certainly are efficiencies of scale in opening it up, insofar as you can train a lot more people and it's more efficient for the faculty. But presuming there's some effort expanded per student, then what you are essentially doing is you're diluting the educational quality for the top students, the 5% that would have previously been exposed to that top professor. So how do you avoid diluting the product if there is some work for the instructor? And just by example, we've had some online courses here in different schools and departments that get oversubscribed. And some of the students have felt that they're not getting individualized attention, and maybe it's not as good an experience as if they'd had a more individualized experience.
No, it's a good question. When you have a class with 1,000 students, Dave Pritchard, my colleague from physics, says that past the second row, it's already distance education. But that said, what you can do, so one thing that I can imagine in the future is on a campus, let's say we still have the 4-year undergraduate degrees. I don't know if we'll have them or not in the future, if they'll become unbundled, but let's say we have them. One could imagine that students are allowed to take 20% of all their credits completely online to gain the flexibility and lower the stress. So you get choice. So you could do that. The second thing that you can do is for an online class, take for example the online class we ran for the MIT students. One TA and one instructor were assigned to help any students if they wanted help. They could just come and approach them for help during their office hours. Very few showed up. But it did turn out that some of the really bright people showed up 2 or 3 times to brainstorm about cool ideas. And some of the people who were struggling showed up. So what it allows the professor to do is rather than give the same experience in the classroom to all 50 students, what you can now do is put in your effort where needed. Like say for the top students who want to brainstorm about new ideas and projects, or to help give some extra help to some students. But a lot of people in the middle are perfectly okay doing things by themselves. So you can create customizations over and above a base online experience. And I think people will pay for that customization, and maybe that's a reason to come to campus, to get that extra customization and the extra help for the students. But I think as universities, it's important for us to think about 10 or 20 or 30 years from now, this is going to happen. So how should we evolve as universities to prepare for these times and to begin thinking about the future? I mean, if you look at companies like Apple, they figured out this world and they evolved. They were a horrible company the stock was pretty much flat for many years until they figured this out and they jumped onto this new model. And so I think it behooves universities to think about how we transform ourselves. But this disruption is coming. And it's important for us to think about how do we customize, how do we create better experiences for learners as opposed to running things the same old way. Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate the example you gave from telecommunications. So before I came into academia, I worked for 10 years as an engineer for one of the baby bells, and then later for AT&T after we were acquired by AT&T. So I am concerned that these types of technologies are going to open up the plane for more competitors come in. Same way we saw in telecommunications. So we saw this explosion in competitors that entered the market, which put a lot of stress and strain on the established players, which ultimately led to a lot of consolidations. And so I'm seeing this cycle where you have an explosion of competitors and then this contraction of competitors. So I'm just wondering, kind of piggybacking on your last comment, how do you foresee this in 2030? I mean, are we going to see some established state and private institutions get disrupted to the point where they go out of business? There are going to be some consolidation of universities. And like you said, how do we prepare for such an eventuality?
It's very hard to predict what will happen. I think 2030 is too small a time frame, but maybe 2050. What I can say for sure is that universities are not going to look like they do today in 2050. They will look different. I think what's going to happen is that those that are innovative, those that have really innovative leaders, and doesn't matter whether you're a top university today or a bottom university today, it doesn't matter. I think whenever there's a disruption happening in the world, it's as if you've taken up a deck of cards and thrown them up into the air, and then you're going to catch them again. And the whole world order changes. And if you were a leading university today, you might be an also-ran 25 years from now. Or if you were a fourth-tier campus today, you might become the leading campus tomorrow. I think it depends on leadership and innovation. Those that embrace the innovation and take risk and do new things, I think will become the leaders in the future, and we've seen that in the industry. But those that try to stick to the same old, I think will struggle. In terms of consolidation and expansion, it's difficult to say. For every argument I make that says that a small local university will struggle, I can make an argument that they'll thrive. So, for example, one could argue that, hey, once you have great courses from the medical school at UAB, why would a small community college thrive when students could watch the schools from the medical college here? But the flip side of the argument is that, what if students want to go to a community college near where they live? And rather than coming all the way to UAB and traveling all the way, they can say, hey, look, I can stay right there and go to my community college for the support and be taking UAB courses there. So it's hard to say, will we see more community colleges or will we see more of the UABs? I don't know. And my sense is there'll be some balance with the local centers that provide more of the teamwork and the student groups, and more of the centralized flagships that become more of the content producers and so on. It's hard to say where the balance will be.
Got time for one more question.
All right. So another fascinating discussion. I talk with your brother often. He doesn't talk like you, so I think it's a different gene that you must have inherited. And I recall, if there is order and you want to reorder, there has to be disorder. And what you told us about is this disorder that goes on. But I got stuck when you talk about Uber. I thought Uber was exactly what it needs to be. I bought stocks. All of a sudden, my money's going down the drain just because of the human relationship, right? Because of the driver and the CEO, etc. And I wonder whether you thought about this more than we have. There must be a flaw in the system that you've developed here. So what are those flaws that you've thought about? And I'm sure there must be solutions. But it's too good to be true. This is going to be the future, but somewhere it's become a sterile future where the individual connection gets lost, and all through cyberspace. So tell us about one or two things that you believe are fatal flaws that you've also prefixed already ahead of time.
Sure, I hope we prefixed them, but the answer is no. But if you look at Uber example, as I was flying here on Friday, Kalanick, the CEO of Uber, said, I've learned my lesson. I'm actually going to grow up and become a big boy now. So he said, I'm not going to behave badly anymore. Relationships matter. So he's going to grow up. So hold on to your stock. But I think to education, we've been looking at, if you think things are unbundled, where will the workflows be? And what we're seeing is that the components where you need the human, like the hand grading part. Universities are uncomfortable giving credit for hand grading essays and so on. So there's a human component. So we've begun to integrate into the platform places where humans can come in and intervene. And they're part of the process. And so one can imagine flows. There'll be the economy flow, where people are learning for free. They just want a little bit, and they're getting out. There's the premium flows. Think of it as business class. So people are willing to pay a small amount of money, and in return, they get more hand-holding, they get more hand grading, they get more feedback. and they also get virtual proctoring and things like that. So as a platform, we're creating a platform that enables customized experiences for people that are willing to pay a small amount. For those who are free, they get some basic stuff, but for those who pay $100 or even a small amount, create some flows where humans can come in and add value either as tutors or as graders, maybe also to hold webinars. So we want to integrate video conferencing as an example into the platform, where you bring in the synchronous components, but those don't scale. And because they don't scale, you have to find a way of creating smaller groups. And the moment you create smaller groups, you're going to create somewhat of an elite experience. It's like Uber, where you have Uber XL for the, and now they have Uber Pool for the proletariat. And they also have Uber Black, I think, which is like if you want a big car. So one can do things like that and create more customized experiences within the platform. And that's the direction we're headed in. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Agarwal, for
Thank you.
exceptionally provocative and thought-provoking.